Alright.
Welcome to Zeus build, you godly bastards. This one is an item specific build. I took some tips from forum post, a guy that created this build on the previous patch. Link is in the description if you want to check it out. Mainly I took item tips, and also it was a nice suggestion from him to have as low reflex as possible. So these are the tips that I took from the forum. As for the rest, it's pretty much straightforward if you understand how Deltro's cage and Deltro armor work, which is the basis of this build. He also said that this does not work now on this patch, which I disagree with, because this is a clear example that it does work. It's best played during the end game, but it can be played as soon as you get to Deltro's Helm and Deltro's armor. Up until that point, just stick with 2-weapon style and smash everyone like that. This is not a solo build, you need to have someone to heal you, but during endgame you might even do this solo. The idea is this: Deltro's Cage Helm gives you shock damage buff whenever you receive shock damage. So if you receive, for example, 20 points of shock damage, you're gonna receive 20% shock buff for 15 seconds. With this knowledge, I've decided to simply shock myself to get that damage buff. And it worked. It can be a bit gimmicky, but it will be all explained. Usually I would start with abilities and attributes, but this time I'm gonna start with gear because it's the most important thing here. This is heavily item specific build. To play this build you need Deltro's Cage Helm and Deltro's Cage. Okay, Deltro's Cage armor is optional, but it's a really nice thing to have. Helm is a must. Both of them can be obtained by killing Bardato family. That head woman of the Bardato family needs to be killed and she will drop both of these items. The most important thing here is this helm. It was heavily nerfed. Before, this boost lasted for 30 seconds, which was more than enough to create a huge amount of damage bonus. Now it lasts for only 15 seconds. That's why we need high dexterity, so that we can cast our spells faster, and that's why we are gonna use 2-weapon style also, because of the recovery time. So what this actually does is when you receive a shock damage, you get additional shock damage boost for a brief time. It works like this: we're gonna use electricity spells on ourselves, like jolting touch, chain lightning. So we're gonna shock ourselves, and with it we're gonna get buff that will last for 15 seconds. That is a fixed period of time which cannot be prolonged by intellect. If we shock ourselves for, let's say, 20 shock damage, then we will receive 20% more shock damage boost. On any attack, be it with weapons, be it with spells, whatever you do, you're gonna receive that boost for 15 seconds. Cool thing is that these bonuses stack. So if I do another quick spell, then it's gonna add to the damage. It can go up, but not that high, because you're gonna lose bonus from that first attack. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to explain this due to the language barrier, but let me try. When you shock yourself first, you get that additional damage. Then when you shock yourself second, Deltro's buff resets back at 15 seconds, but it only counts for the second time you damaged yourself. While you have full time remaining on the boost from the second attack, the boost from the first attack is still ticking. So it might be now at 6 seconds remaining, 7 seconds remaining, and so on. So they overlap together. So if you shock yourself for the third time, you'll probably gonna lose by that time the bonus from the first attack, but the second will overlap with the third one for a brief moment. I hope you understand the explanation. If not, post in comments and I will try to explain it further. As long as you shock yourself for the first time, you can use any kind of AoE spell that hits you later on. Doesn't have to be shock whatsoever. And all the spells will get the benefit from this shock damage bonus. So if I cast Fireball after I already have Deltro's buff, that Fireball will do fire plus shock damage. It's gonna be much clearer when I demonstrate it in combat. Deltro's Cage is fantastic addition to this build because it gives you +2 all electricity power levels. Do not upgrade this to Shock Shield. If you upgrade it to Shock Shield, then 50% of damage done to yourself will be used as healing, which is something we do not want, since we want the full damage effect on us, so that we can get bigger damage buff from the helmet. If you want to upgrade it to Conductive Storms. It gives you Relentless Storm. You can cast it at the beginning of combat to start stunning everyone around you. Very useful. From other items, I would suggest something like Chameleon's Touch, Kuaru's Prize. This is good one. You get intellect and perception bonus and +5% damage with spells. You can get this item in Northern Ireland. It's called something like Oro Kirik. I don't know. It's a strange name. You'll spot it immediately. It's way up north. There's a character named Kipesh that sells it. Gauntlets of Ogre Might are a nice choice as well. It directly increases the damage done with spells. Nidgoud's Teachings is a good grimoire to have, because we have AoE spells. We need AoE spells to hit ourselves and enemies, to prolong the effect. So spells like Fireball, Shadow Flame, Freezing Pillar, anything that can hit you is good. Anything. As for weapons, go for Duskfall and upgrade it to Hound's something. I don't know what the name is. Hound's Cage, something like that. It gives you +10% damage with spells. Unfortunately, I do not have it here because I've upgraded it already with action speed. Duskfall can be obtained from Valera family. So you can already see that most of these items you can get by just doing that quest and killing everyone. Next item is Sun and Moon Flail. It gives you Celestial Attunement. Fire power levels increased by day. And frost power levels increased by night. Perfect setup for this because we're gonna use both freeze and fire spells. This can be obtained on Dunaj, whatever you call it, island. The shop is called Treasure Co. It's in Radiant District. It's very expensive, but when you have the money for it, definitely go for it. Another good option are Fire Thrower's Gloves. You get +2 to Dexterity, +1 to all evocation power levels, and +1 Arcana. Really nice. This is the build. You can go for Fighter Unbroken or no subclass. I went with Unbroken, and although we are not using a shield, this lowers our reflexes, which we want. We don't want to have high reflexes so that we can hit ourselves with spells like Chain Lightning, Fireball, and so on. No subclass Wizard so that you can have more variety of spells. For race, go for anything except Godlike. Don't use Godlike because Godlike cannot use Helmet. From attributes, go for High Might. Constitution can be left at 10. Dexterity close to maximum. Perception needs to be maxed out. It's most important stat here. Intellect can be left at 10, while Resolve can be dumped completely. From active skills, go either Arcana or Athletics. If you want to use Scrolls, go for Arcana. It can be a really powerful combination with this build, because you have limited amount of usage of these spells. If you don't want to use Scrolls, then simply go for Athletics. I've already leveled the bastard to level 20, so I have to go through abilities from this screen. I hope that's not a problem. From the passive ones, what you need are these. Combat Focus, Heart of the Storm, Secrets of Rhyme, And you also need fire penetration, which I did not take here. So definitely take that one as well. 2 weapon style to decrease the recovery time. Rapid casting. Uncanny luck. It really helps to convert some hits to crits. Improved critical as well. From the fighter tree you need stances. Go for also determination passive. All the passives that grant you defenses against any kind of affliction are fantastic. Just don't go for defenses that boost your reflex and deflection. We both need these two at the lowest possible levels to be able to hit ourselves. Unfortunately, with lots of points into dexterity and perception, we already have high reflex. We cannot do anything about it, but we should not buff it through any means. Jolting touch is resisted by deflection, while all AoE spells are resisted by reflex. But we can have defenses against afflictions, and they are very much welcomed. Confident aim here is optional if you want to take it, but I would rather put that point into more penetration with fire spells. This build works also fantastic if you just want to smash everyone with your weapons. It is how it's supposed to be played at the beginning of the game if you directly want this build. As for the next fighter ability, we have Discipline Strikes, which gives us intuitive, but you can also go for Tactical Barrage. It gives you +1 to all power levels and +5 to intellect. So both are fine. This one will give you more chance to crit, that one will give you more power levels. Both of them give you concentration, which is important. Rapid recovery as a passive, definitely take it. Take also body control, resistance to might afflictions. It's a passive. Weapon specialization is a right option if you have some points to spend, but it's an optional thing here since we are purely casters. Definitely take Armored Grace and Concurrent Stance upgrade to increase accuracy. I know that we also get +5 deflection, but it shouldn't be an issue since our deflection is low as it is, and we need accuracy. From the last fighter power level, go first for Unbreakable. In case you kill yourself, you will be revived, which is quite possible to kill yourself. And for the last point, go for upgraded Unbending to Unbending Trunk. From Wizardry we don't have to spend many points, mostly on those passives that boost penetration with fire, freeze and electricity attacks. From the spells we want Jolting Touch, that's a must. Infuse with Vital Essence, this is what we start the battle with. Merciless Gaze. Crackling Bolt is good earlier on, but you cannot hit yourself with it. I mean, you have to be lucky to hit yourself with it because it bounces off walls. So Crackling Bolt is not a safe bet to hit yourself. Jolting Touch is. And the last one is Chain Lightning. Rest you get from Ningout's Teachings Grimoire. At the beginning of the combat we start by infusing ourselves with Vital Essence and by putting Merciless Gaze. After that, choose Discipline Strikes and Unbending Trunk, if you have it. Now you're ready to go in and do your thing. If you've upgraded Deltro Heavy Armor so that you have Relentless Storm, use that Relentless Storm. It will help with stunning opponents around you. And now it's time for the combo. You have two spells that you have to use on yourself for this to work. Jolting Touch and Chain Lightning. Start off with Chain Lightning if you have it, because it does initially more damage than Jolting Touch. Cast it on yourself and bolts will also go to enemies. Cool thing is that you will immediately get the buff on that initial attack if you manage to hit yourself. This is an issue, sometimes you just won't hit yourself, you will resist the spell. Nothing you can do about it, it is unfortunate, but that's how this works. You can open your character screen or check your buff section to see if you have Conduit Delto's Cage Helm. If it says like that, then it means you got the buff. It will last for around 15 seconds, and after you have that buff you can cast whatever the hell you want. You can go for Fireball, Freezing Pillar, whatever AoE spell you've got. and you have to hit yourself and enemies with it. Everything that you do with this buff will have that added shock damage, be it abilities, auto attacks or spells. If you cast Fireball, when you have the buff, you will do fire plus shock damage. If you cast Freezing Pillar, you will do frost plus shock damage. So you just gotta hit yourself to reset that buff back to 15 seconds and to have that damage added to the overall boost. It's good to have also some scrolls with you, especially if you have high arcana, in case you run out of spells. Scrolls like Fireball, Chain Lightning and so on. Here in this instance I've just spammed Chain Lightning, done it twice on myself and then used another Chain Lightning scroll. That would be all for this build. I hope you bastards enjoyed it. I know it's a complicated one, but it's amazing fun to play. Thank you for watching and see you soon.
Bravo.